You are Locked On Celtics Postcast, part of Locked On Sports Boston, on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Well, maybe you thought it was coming, but the Celtics got maybe exactly what they deserved against the Lakers Thursday night in Los Angeles as the Celtics fall for the first time on this current four-game road trip. It wasn't really that close after the first quarter. Celtics end up losing by 21. We welcome you to our latest Locked On Celtics postcast. I'm Steve Lennox, longtime college basketball play-by-play announcer, national show host at one point for both XM Radio, when it was just as XM Radio out of Washington, D.C., and ESPN Radio. You're right where you need to be. You are locked on with the latest Locked On Celtics postcast, providing reaction to every Celtics game on the Locked On Sports Boston YouTube channel, as well as the Locked On Celtics podcast feed, which is available and free wherever you get your podcasts. With our latest Locked On Celtics postcast, we're going to talk about Joe Mazzulla not using the bench the way he did on Wednesday night and the overtime victory against the LA Clippers. I'm not a head coach of the NBA team, but, and I'm going to finish that segment and that sentence in segment number 2. We do want to hear from you, our everydayers and our first-timers. Join the conversation watching live on the Locked On Sports Boston YouTube channel. Hit the comment button. Join the Celtics conversation. You can follow us on the Locked On Sports Boston YouTube channel. You can also follow on the X, formerly known as Twitter, at Lennox on Hoops. This episode of the Locked On Celtics postcast brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app today. Create an account. Use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. So the Celtics wins a lopsided victory to open up the road trip against the Golden State Warriors, where 3 of the 5 starters did not play in the fourth quarter. Then overtime victory, and able to pull out that victory with a big help and a big boost from the bench Wednesday night in Inglewood, California, just outside of Los Angeles against the Clippers, and then against the Lakers, trailing by as many as 28 points in that fourth quarter and losing 117-96. So the Celtics right now 2-1 on this current road trip that wraps up on Saturday against the Dallas Mavericks, who, by the way, went Thursday night, knocked off the OKC Thunder. We do get to your comments. As always, if you're with us on the Locked On Sports Boston YouTube channel, we do appreciate you being on board with us, and we get to your comments in just a moment. So no Drew Carter, no Brian Scalabrine, NBC Sports Boston for me, TNT broadcast, and they didn't broadcast the game on NBC Sports Boston as TNT had the rights to the game on Thursday night. Kevin Harlan, Reggie Miller. You know, I really like Reggie Miller as an analyst. Kevin Harlan, late night for us on the East Coast. I like him in that East Coast prime time rather than the West Coast. Kevin Harlan did his best to sell it that the Celtics going to the bench in that fourth quarter, finally bringing Cade in, bringing Springer in, and I think Kevin Harlan at one point went to break in the fourth quarter saying Hauser, I think, knocked down 2 threes in a row and said, maybe the Celtics have one more run to get back into this game. Where they could have got back into the game and where I thought they should go to the bench was in the third quarter. Opportunity, and the game was stuck 74-62 for a while. Jaylen Brown started the third quarter off with a three-pointer, got a defensive stop. Holiday missed on a layup. Defensive stop. Holiday then had a turnover. Reggie Miller did mention that he thought Holiday right at that point not playing at 100%. Remember, missed the game on Wednesday. And with Holiday, Porzingis, and Horford not playing Wednesday, don't you have to rely on those guys to bring more energy on game 2 of a back-to-back? Tatum and Brown both looked gassed. Both looked tired. They did. Heavy legs. But come on, those 3 guys with an extra day, Porzingis, illness, coming back the second game, played well. But again, it was one of those games where Porzingis got up to 15 points with a three-pointer in that third quarter, and I'm thinking, you got to carry this. You got to go for 30. Lakers had a 5-0 run in that third quarter. Tatum then had a couple of threes to get it down to 12 with 7:17 to go. But I mentioned later in that third quarter, it was stuck on 74-62. Tatum at the line for 2. Could have made it a 10-point deficit. Missed both free throws. Brown then fouled on a shot in the paint. Missed 2 free throws. Lakers then had 4 straight points. Got it back to 16. Pritchard on the floor. And in that third quarter, when Pritchard was on the floor, Horford was also out there. it looked like Pritchard was just running around. Wasn't really even an option offensively for the Celtics. He's got to be an option when he's on the floor. He's not number one, but a handful of times he never touched the ball in possessions. Lakers then got 4 straight points, the lead back up to, or rather Jackson Hayes out hustling everyone and had a couple of baskets late in that third quarter, and it got back up to 18. That fourth quarter, Horford, Cornette on the floor together at the start of the fourth quarter. Pritchard, couple of misses early on in the fourth quarter. The Lakers, first 9 points of that fourth quarter, and it was over. Got the lead up to 24. The bench had not gotten to the game. The bench was not giving Boston much. That's what Kevin Harlan said at that point in time. 12-2 run to start, lead up to 25. Again, it got up to 28. And then Springer, Queta finally got on the floor in the fourth quarter. Hauser, I mentioned a couple of threes, but, just one of those nights. I mean, Bronny got in the game. They were chanting for him with about 5 to 6 minutes to go. Got in with under 4 to go. Celtics down 11 after the first quarter, down 19 at the half, down 15 going to the fourth quarter. And again, had that opportunity to get to single digits. Anytime there's a lead of 15 or more, if you can get it down to single digits, it changes the momentum, it changes the dynamic and the look of the game. Didn't happen for the Celtics. The Real Darrell, again, if you're with us on the Locked On Sports Boston YouTube channel, hit us up in the comments section. The Real Darrell, no legs at all tonight. I can agree with that. Everybody is looking like they cannot wait to get back to Boston. And during the stretch where it was 500 for the Celtics, it was like, get the team out on the road. That could be the best thing for the Celtics. You got one more. And the feel-good momentum that you had going 2-0 against the Warriors and Clippers, winning in blowout fashion against Golden State, then winning in overtime Wednesday night against the Clippers, now 2-1. You get to 2-2, and then you're going home. The goodwill that you have after starting off 2-2, if you lose to the Mavericks, again, Mavericks, Thursday night, beat Oklahoma City. So that should tell you what you need to know right now. You hear coaches, you hear players. We're focused on the next game. We're focused on the next opponent. Put this one in the rearview mirror. You can do that, but don't think you're going into Dallas and the Mavericks are just going to roll over. They've got all sorts of injuries. Clippers with injuries. Lakers, healthy. Hey, no one was on the injury report for the Celtics for Thursday night's matchup at crypto.com, whatever they're calling it, for the Lakers. Still the Staples Center to me. The Real Darrell, always appreciate you checking in. Aiden, just an embarrassing loss. Yeah, and on national TV. And the theme for the Celtics, very few times this year, we'll get into it in Numbers of the Night coming up in segment number 3. Very few times this season where an opponent has outshot the Celtics on the three-point line, but a lot of shots short. Jaylen Brown, I think, has done, almost bully ball. When he gets in the paint, so strong, able to elevate against a defender. That's where I thought the legs were missing for Jaylen Brown. They missed a handful of layups in that first, I think it was in the second quarter, a miss on one end, and then LeBron went to the other end, got a feed from Reaves, and it was a dunk. It was a beautiful dunk from LeBron James. I mean, he looked like he was, 25 again. And then, to the Real Darrell's point, Reggie Miller alluded to it in the second quarter, seeing a lot of tired legs out there for the Celtics. Celtics shot 50% from the field in the first quarter, had 50% shooting from the field through the first 24 minutes. And that kind of gives you right where it was at. But James, a dunk in the final final seconds of that first quarter, and it was kind of just, Brian Scalabrine said it against the Clippers Wednesday night. Just don't like the feel of this. Don't feel good about this. Thursday night, I think you could have really echoed the same sentiments as well. So, again, that dunk I was alluding to came out of a timeout in the second quarter. Derek White had a miss. James the other way. Assist from Austin Reaves, who had a terrific game. That made it a 15-point game. And then Reaves made it a 16-point game, knocking down a three-pointer. He was 1 of 3. Davis, LeBron, and Austin Reaves, all with 20 or more in their victory for the Lakers over the Celtics. And, they sell the rivalry. The rivalry sells itself. Again, Kevin Harlan, I like him, but over the top on the Celtics-Lakers rivalry. It speaks for itself in many ways. So, Aiden, just an embarrassing loss? Yeah, it was. Again, on national TV as well. Kokomo. Something is not right with Brown. Give him some games off. Give him away from the team. Something's not right with him. They brought it up recently, and I hate doing this because I always like to reference where I read something or where I heard something. It might have been on ESPN in the studio where they talked about Jaylen Brown. Athletes right now, when they're away from home, even when they're in their home arena, homes being broken into on the personal side, that still could very much have an effect on Jaylen Brown and his family. So he could be carrying that. I'm not saying he is, but someone brought that up the other day, and it's certainly something to think about. You have the All-Star break coming up. That'll be time away. Speaking of the All-Star break, All-Star starters named for the East and West. We'll get into that coming up in our next segment as well. I give the Lakers a lot of credit. I said the other day, JJ Redick can't lose enough from me for the Lakers, but they were ready to go Thursday night. I don't like the back-to-back where one team has a game off, the night off beforehand. I would love for it to be. I mean, it's not, especially a team on the road. I'm not making excuses, but, the Lakers came in fresher, and give them a tip of the cap. I was expecting a closer game, certainly. I was expecting LeBron to have a big game against the Celtics. He understands what the rivalry is all about as well. I'm not an NBA head coach, but, and I'll finish that segment coming up in segment number 2 right here on the Locked On Celtics postcast. Glad you're with us on this Thursday night into Friday morning. If you're with us on the East Coast, Locked On Sports Boston, your team every day. Glad you're with us on the Locked On Celtics postcast. We are presented by Talkspace. Therapy is a game changer. It can help manage stress, improve sleep, and communicate more effectively. But finding the right therapist and fitting sessions into a busy schedule can be a challenge, and that's where Talkspace comes in. Talkspace, the leading virtual therapy provider, makes getting the help you need easy, accessible, and affordable. With Talkspace, signing up is simple. You can match with a licensed therapist who fits your needs, usually within 48 hours. It is convenient. You can have sessions from the comfort of your own home and even message your therapist between appointments. Plus, Talkspace is covered by many insurance plans, and for most insured members, there's $0 copay. It's never been easier to prioritize your mental health. As a listener of this podcast, you are going to get $80 off your first month with Talkspace when you go to Talkspace.com/LockedOnNBA and enter promo code SPACE80. Space the number 80 to match with a licensed therapist today. Go to Talkspace.com/LockedOnNBA and enter promo code SPACE80 to get $80 off your first month and show your support for the Locked On Celtics postcast and the Locked On Celtics podcast with John Corrales. That's Talkspace.com/LockedOnNBA, promo code SPACE80. All right, back to your comments here. As I finish that sentence, I'm not an NBA coach, but I really did think that Joe Mazzulla would utilize his bench, especially the way they played on Wednesday. Thursday, thinking about Lakers-Celtics, Game 3 of the 4-game road trip for the Celtics, I thought, I want to see Jaden Springer on the floor. Springer and Queta belong, and I thought deserve some minutes in the first half. See what they did. If they were going to provide a spark for you, then you could have given him minutes in the second half as well. But when you start Cornette, and start of the fourth quarter, the Lakers they put the game away in the third quarter. They really did. Did not let the Celtics get it to single digits, got it down to 12, got no closer in that third quarter. But when you have Cornette and Horford on the floor together to start the fourth quarter, that's not I just don't think those guys being in the lineup together is going to help prompt a big run offensively. And for the second straight game, there was just a very short spurt where the Clippers Wednesday night weren't hitting shots on the offensive end. The Lakers had that in the third quarter. Again, it was stuck on that number, 12-point deficit for a while, 84-72 in favor of the Lakers. Neither team at that point scoring, but then 4 straight misses at the free throw line from Tatum and Brown. At that point, kind of yelling at my TV to say, make the move. Put those guys in. Let them create the spark. Give them the opportunity to create that spark. Didn't happen. Again, I'm not an NBA coach, but I really did think, in baseball, Those guys off the bench, every time, every once in a while, a manager will say, hey, you're going to get an opportunity. Guy off the bench goes out, gets 2 or 3 hits. They're going to be in the lineup that next day. They're going to try to ride that. I thought Joe Mazzulla might try to do that Thursday against the Lakers with Springer and Queta. The way they played Wednesday night, why not give him that shot? I don't question Joe Mazzulla a lot. And really, and I've mentioned this before, this is the first time I've been on board with the Locked On Celtics postcast. So watching the Celtics game in, game out, have been there pretty much throughout since the season got underway late October. I don't question Joe Mazzulla that much. But really, Thursday night, I thought Springer, I thought Queta deserved that. You trusted them. You trusted them in the fourth quarter, in the third quarter, fourth quarter, and overtime. Their teammates trust them. Their teammates spoke glowingly about them on Wednesday night. Give them that opportunity. I was a little surprised it didn't come. Back to your comments we go. BC, go Lakers. BC, LeBron, greatest of all time. BC, I don't know what those emojis are. Sorry, BC, but you're checking in there. Aiden back with it. I don't know what's wrong, but the offense feels way different from last year. It looks really stagnant. Again, I'm not putting this in the lap of Jayson Tatum, but it seems like he's just dribbling out on that three-point line. Occasionally he gets by defenders and goes to the rim. But boy, dribble, hoist up a three. It does. I feel like that's more noticeable in recent games. Now, when they got off to the great start to the season, and it was Tatum dribble, hoist up a three and knock it down, it's not knocking him down at quite the clip he was. They're both Tatum and Jaylen Brown held in check, both held below 20 points. That hasn't happened that often this season. I'm going to go back and check that. Maybe I'll have that for the Mavericks game on Saturday. William, Celtics look tired. Are we willing to accept that? It's kind of a given. Again, you've got the visiting team, the road team. Now, you had the back-to-back at home, and I heard Brian Scalabrine talk with Frank Isola on NBA, the morning show on NBA radio on Sirius XM satellite radio recently. The recent back-to-back, a back-to-back at home is different. You really sort of had the same back-to-back. You didn't get on a plane Wednesday night after the win, an overtime win against the Clippers, and that 5-minute session, that plays a part of it. You could have won that game and wrapped that game up Wednesday night in regulation. Clippers got back into it. Maybe the Lakers right now thank the Clippers for, extending the Celtics and having those legs just a little bit more tired. But again, is that an excuse? Is that something you're willing to accept? It's on the schedule. It was right there. You knew it was happening. It was a great thing about the Celtics. 5 victories this season on the second game of a back-to-back and blowout wins. Now a blowout loss on the road. You lose by 21. Biggest deficit and biggest loss of the season for the Celtics. We're going to get into their losses by double figures on the season. And, again, back-to-back, but you're out there. Now, against the Hawks the other night, you're in it on the end of a back-to-back. You're in that game. You gave the lead away late in regulation, but you were in that game. Got to be able to elevate and take it to the next level and say, let's close this thing out. Didn't close cleanly against the Clippers, and that's sort of a trend right now. But an opportunity late in the third quarter to get back into it, unable to do it. Numbers of the night as we continue right here, Locked On Celtics Postcast. All right, again, Locked On Celtics Postcast. We tip our cap and want to acknowledge our everydayers for making the Locked On Celtics podcast with John Corrales and Locked On Celtics Postcast their first listen every day. We are presented on this Thursday night into Friday morning with the West Coast Celtics right now, and we are presented by Game Time. Hey, we love going to live events, whether it's sports, music, theater, comedy. One of my favorite memories, attending Broadway shows in New York City after the Christmas holiday, the energy, the excitement, Unforgettable for me, unforgettable for my family as well. Now, Game Time has made it even easier to get tickets for your favorite events with the new feature, Game Time Picks. This feature able to filter out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats, so you do not have to waste time searching throughout thousands and thousands of tickets. With Game Time Picks, you are able to finalize and find those amazing deals, and you can see and get the seat view from your seats that you select before buying. The super deal is particularly impressive, offering great seats at unbeatable prices, plus the app's all-in pricing, able to show you the total cost up front with no surprise fees at checkout. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create the account, use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first ticket purchase. Again, terms to apply. Create your account, redeem code LOCKEDONNBA, $20 off your first purchase. Download Game Time today. What time is it? It's game time. All right, let's hit the comment button here one more time. I think we got through the real Darrell. To repeat, Joe has to play Springer, Cada, Walsh. Yeah, and I appreciate the real Darrell because you're, Jordan Walsh too. Bringing energy. I mean, those guys, if you put them into that game Thursday and they don't bring energy, bury them on the bench. But I think they have enough credit and enough on the resume to say they're going to go out there and provide a spark in some way. Are they going to get exposed? Maybe. But, boy, you can give those guys opportunities right now. I think, Springer in just one game, the 2 threes, the steals, the defense that he brought, even if he's not shutting somebody down, making them work on the offensive end. Celtics allowed the Lakers did it on their own, moving the basketball. They moved the basketball in fine fashion. Celtics held below 100 points for the 4th time this season as we get into numbers of the night. All 4 occasions have happened now for the Celtics in the last 10 games. So the Celtics blowout losses, Oklahoma City, Sacramento at home, and then you got the Raptors loss in Toronto. That one still sticks for me a little bit. I can handle 21-point loss to the Lakers in Los Angeles. That double-digit loss against the Raptors in Toronto, that one's still sitting with me. Lakers beating the Celtics by 21. Again, 5 victories on game 2 of a back-to-back. Blowout win in Charlotte. Blowout win at Brooklyn against the Nets. 32-point win on the second game of a back-to-back against the Clippers. 19-point win against the Miami Heat, where they brought the energy in those games. Plus 23 on the road in Houston on what was a 3rd straight win. Celtics had an opportunity for a 3rd straight win on Thursday night. Did not happen. Part of numbers of the night. Peyton Pritchard did not have a good night from the field. Knocked down, I think it was 2 shots, 2 of 12 for Pritchard. And again, I mentioned earlier, he was on the floor in that second half. Didn't really even seem to like he was an option. 2 of 12, 1 of 5. So 4th quarter, twice now in the last 3 games. Drew Holiday did not play the 4th quarter. Jaylen Brown was the only starter who played minutes in that 4th quarter. He played 4:28. Holiday, spectator in the 4th quarter. Porzingis, spectator in the 4th quarter. Tatum, second time in 3 games. Spectator, 0 minutes in the 4th quarter. And Derek White did not play in the 4th quarter. Peyton Pritchard played all 12 minutes in the 4th quarter for the Celtics, and he was 1 of 7 from the field and just took, and 6 of those shots were inside the 3-point line. Jaden Springer, again, knocked down some shots, 10 points. Garbage time, yes. But again, Springer got in there for 8:53 of the 4th quarter. And to be honest, I wasn't really watching that much of the 4th quarter. I heard his name called. But again, Springer's, again, shows it to you. Hey, you know what? This is an audition for me. We've talked about it. It's again, somebody may have seen Springer. Hey, turn in a report on him. Hey, guy with the Celtics, if we're thinking about making a move and the Celtics like somebody or give us a call, Springer's a guy we're going to ask for. Okay, go watch him the next night. You're still in Los Angeles. Watch him against the Lakers. Hey, it's garbage time, but he scored 10 points in the 4th quarter. Knocked down some shots. He's an effort guy. He's young. He's controllable with the money. All those different things are check marks for another team. So what's next? Let's get back to the comments here before we wrap it up. Utero, Celtics ain't winning blank this season, period. I don't agree with that. I don't agree with that right now. I'm not willing to buy into that just yet. You may be right ultimately. I mean, only one team wins the NBA title. Back to the Eastern Conference Finals, and you go from there. And it's going to be a roll of the dice because right now you had a chance to pick up another half game on the idle Cavaliers on Thursday night with a win against the Lakers, but that did not happen. Lakers right now, I think, a season-high 6 games over 500. Let's give the real Darrell the last shot here. The Celtics need to find ways to get easier baskets. If Pritchard cannot hit the three, his impact is minimal. Do not disagree. One more from the real Darrell. Reggie Miller made a statement that Springer should get more minutes because of his defense. Yeah, absolutely. 100%. And again, the rotations have changed when guys are going to the bench, when Joe Mazzulla is bringing the subs in. That's changed a little bit. They've made some changes here. But right now, maybe a shakeup. If Drew Holiday's not healthy, maybe he's the guy who sits for a handful of games. You want to see Horford right now in front of Neemias Queta? I'd rather see Queta right now. I'm a little down on Al Horford, and I'm not putting it all in his lap either. But I'd rather see Queta right now. What's on tap for the Celtics? One more on this road trip. And again, Mavericks, I've touched on it. 121-115 victory on the road against the Thunder Thursday night in Oklahoma City. PJ Washington, 22-19 rebounds. Going to have to keep him off the boards on Saturday. Spencer Dinwiddie had 28. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander had 31 and Jalen Williams 33 for Oklahoma City. So that's the matchup Saturday night. That's when we're going to be with you again with our latest Locked On Celtics postcast immediately following within minutes of the final buzzer. Hopefully we're talking about a 3-1 road trip going home to face who is it? Houston and Chicago coming in. Rockets and Bulls next week, and then on the road for 3 in a row for the Celtics. So the real Darrell wants the Celtics back home. They look like a team that wants to be back home. You've got 2, and then you're back out on the road against New Orleans, Philadelphia, and Cleveland. Right now, the Celtics in a stretch of playing 7 of 9 games away from home. Hey, don't forget your favorite podcast now has a newsletter and one stop for ultimate team and league coverage delivered right to your inbox. Sign up now free at LockedOnDaily.com. As always, we want to thank you for being on board with us, especially if you are late into Thursday or early into Friday on the East Coast. We want to thank our sponsors as well, Game Time and Talkspace. Don't forget, we're back at it Saturday, Mavericks, Celtics in Dallas as the Celtics look to win against the Mavericks, the two teams meeting for the first time since the NBA Finals last June. Don't forget, Locked On Sports to Boston, number one place to hang out immediately after every game. Locked On Sports, your team, your Celtics every day.